There is nothing in Islam is called holy war. War is an ugly word. It's the last, probably it's the last alternative to establish peace. But Islamically, by the way, if you read in the paper anytime, or you read somebody saying, well, this is an Islamic jihad, it's an Islamic holy war, believe me, guys, these people know nothing. Do we have sleeping cells in America? Probably yes, probably no. I'm not an intelligent, but I think, again, as I said, people react different, and I think we need to look at the root cause of why those sleeping cells are there and why they exist. So I think we need to look very seriously as Americans at our foreign policy. How would you know if somebody is a terrorist? How would you differentiate between this person and that person? And who calls who a terrorist? Do we have a definition of the word terrorist? Do you guys know that as of today, even the United Nations couldn't agree on a certain definition of the word terrorist? President Bush has used this kind of ideology. He said Islamic fascists. I seriously disagree with using that word, because I don't like for anybody to say Christian fascists. So is McVeigh a Christian fascist? What about David Koresh? Is he a Christian fascist? So why, when a Muslim acts certain way, we link his religion to his act? I think this kind of ideology does truly give a double standard, or a different signal that you are with us today, but you are against us at the same time. By the way, in the U.S. we have 2,186,230 prisoners. Now, when somebody conduct an act to go to prison, it could be a violent, it could be domestic, it could be a crime. Is that a sort of a terror? What can we call those people? Terrorists, from that terminology. We've heard about what happened in Michigan. A few guys, two brothers and a cousin, bought about 1,000 cell phone to use it for a certain purpose. The way they said that it was more for a business. Well, now we heard about racial profiling and so forth. So God knows who. Hey, if you are an Arab, by the way, I'm telling you frankly, do not buy except one phone. Please don't buy 100 phone, don't buy 1,000 phone. Close your business, because you're going to be caught. Okay, have a white guy buy phones, 1,000, 3,000 phones. It's a good business. But if you are an Arab, please don't buy anything. Don't even buy a phone. Okay, don't buy a cell phone. Do you know, by the way, who provided the British government, to the intelligence of the British government, all the information about what's going to happen? It came actually from the Muslim British community. They are the ones who provided the British government and the intelligence in British about that terrorist attack that was going to occur on our land here in America. I'm so happy, by the way, that those terrorists were caught, because anyway, I would have paid the price. My fellow American Muslims would have paid the price, and we all as Americans, we would have paid the big price. I want to go back to Iraq, because it's vital to share this information with you before we get to your questions. 62% of Americans disapprove the way President Bush handles the situation in Iraq. 62%. What would happen in Iraq if we have a civil war today? What would happen to the U.S. troops if we have civil war in Iraq today? I'm going to tell you, and I will make this my own prediction. One is American troops will have a base in northern Iraq with the Kurdish. Iraq will be divided into three pieces, three parts, one in northern Iraq. The Kurds will have their own state. The U.S. troops will be in northern Iraq. The Shiis will be in south of Iraq. The Sunnis and mixed Iraqis, Christians and everybody else, will be in the center of Iraq. The Iraqi Shiites in the south of Iraq, which is Al-Basra, will collaborate and unite with the Iranian regime in eastern Iraq. These are my own predictions. I just, I read the papers, I watch the news, I read the puzzles, I read between the lines, and these are nothing except predictions. Now, I'm going to give you, by the way, I'm going to share with you some of the slogans that President Bush, Rumsfeld, and Cheney have said and listen to them. These are about Iraq, and tell me which one is true. Saddam is stockpiling weapons of mass destruction. Saddam's regime has secret connections to Al-Qaeda. U.S. troops will be welcomed as liberators. Major combat is over, so the war is over. The insurgents in Iraq are just pesky dead enders. So the question, so are we stuck in Iraq? Iraqi civilians are paying by the way, there's about 100 Iraqi civilians dead on daily basis in Iraq. Daily, we have about 100 civilians. What about Afghanistan? I thought Bush said that the war was over. I think we did not push Al-Qaeda out in the caves. Al-Qaeda is still alive. Al-Qaeda is still sending us a lot of tapes here and there. Al-Qaeda is still active. Al-Qaeda is still a threat, and we see these signs here and there about Al-Qaeda. I think it's about time for us as Americans to wake up and smell the smoke around us. I think very seriously that the U.S. foreign policy needs to be cleaned. With that, we're going to be taking some commercial breaks. I know there is a lot of phone calls here. I'll see you in about 2 minutes. Good evening and welcome back to the River City Forum. This is your host again, Nabil Seyam, and we have Matt Goldsby, and he is a he's with KNSS actually, is 1330 AM radio station. He's a host, and actually he has it comes at 6 p.m. on Sunday nights, and actually that is an hour before I'm going to call it a religious radio talk show as well.
Terry Fox. Answering the Calls, the name of their show.
Answering the calls. I bet you they will never answer a call from me.
Well, I don't know. They've answered calls from me before.
Matt, let's go ahead and talk about who you are and what you're doing and what moved you into doing it. You just started that KNSS.
We just started about 3 months ago.
Right. So what were you doing before?
Before, I'd ran for mayor when I was age 20. Got into politics at an early age. Wanted to get my feet wet, so to speak.
So what led you to think about being a mayor at age 20, where a lot of Americans at age 20, I mean, all they're thinking about is different aspects of life?
I wasn't foolish enough to believe that I could be elected mayor at the age of 20. I just wanted to kind of get in and see how the process worked.
I mean, did you come from a family?
No, just kind of always been interested in local politics at an early age. It always sparked my interest, and we kind of laughed and said, well, why don't you run for mayor? And then we did, and then I got into the system, learned how to run a campaign, learned what took place behind the scenes, and then last April ran for city council. Got real close. So, giving it another chance, might get in there. You never know. So.
I do have a lot of callers waiting. I'm going to start with Julie. Good evening.
Hello, I was calling. All that question you read was true. What President Bush, Dick Cheney, said.
I'm sorry. Was that a question?
No, I was saying that that you read off was true. They said about the war. They said about reason they was going to war wasn't in them that you read off was true.
Right, it's about the war on Iraq.
Yeah, on Iraq.
So, ma'am, tell me, what do you think about the war in Iraq? Every day we have American soldiers are dying to liberate Iraqis from Saddam Hussein. Saddam Hussein is in the prison of Iraq, and we are now approaching to what we call a civil war in Iraq. I don't know what is the democracy in Iraq on a daily basis. I see nothing except blood and suicide bombs.